Geographical diversity of India. To us, by its very geography, the country India appears to be quite distinct from other countries, and that itself gives it a certain national character. What are some key geographical features of India? How does India's geographical diversity affect our lives? In 1984, Rakesh Sharma, the first Indian astronaut to go into space, spoke with the then Prime Minister of India, Indira Gandhi, when she asked him, "How does India look from space?" He replied, "Sare jahan se acha, better than the whole world." This is the title of the well known poem of the early 20th century. Let us explore. Look at the map of India at the end of this book. What are you able to observe? Recall your lesson on different types of landforms, mountains, plains, and plateaus. Which landforms can you identify on the map? What do you what do you different colors on the map mean? Hint: the legend on the map shows the heights of each area. As you go through this chapter, remember to refer periodically to the physical map. India is the seventh largest country in the world and a part of Asia, along with its neighbors Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, and Myanmar. It forms the region known as the Indian subcontinent. Subcontinent since it is part of the continent of Asia. Often, for the purpose of discussion, we refer to five regions: the Great Mountain Zone, the plains of the Ganga and the Indus, the desert region, the southern peninsula, and the islands. In the chapter, we will fly over these zones, providing you with a bird's eye view of these features and offering glimpses of what things look like in close up at some of these places. It would be difficult to go into all the details at this stage since, as you will soon see, India is large and diverse. The Himalayan mountain range stands as a natural barrier in the north, while the Thar Desert and the Arabian Sea mark its western limits. To the south, the Indian Ocean, and to the east, the Bay of Bengal form a natural boundary. These geographical features create a separation between India and the rest of the continent and have played a crucial role in shaping India's climate, culture, and history. Do you recall your lesson on latitudes and longitudes? Look at the map. Can you read approximately the latitude and longitude where India lies? Identify the above features on India's physical map. Let us now journey together from the Himalayas to the islands in the Indian Ocean and onward to the east of India. The diverse colors on the map already give us a sense of the geographical diversity. Familiarize yourself with the legend on the map. The different colors indicate the altitudes. The Himalayas. Look at the length of the Himalayan range on the map. It is like a massive wall. From the legend, can you guess the altitude at different points of the Himalayas? The Himalayas seem to touch the sky. In fact, many of its peaks are over 8,000 meters in height and are together called the 8,000ers. This mountain range stretches across six countries in Asia: India, Nepal, Bhutan, China, Pakistan, and Afghanistan. Can you name the highest mountain in the world? In the summer, the snow on the mountains melt and feed major rivers such as the Ganga, Indus, and Brahmaputra. These rivers and their tributaries provide water for drinking, farming, and industrial use, connecting with the lives of hundreds of millions of people. Hence, the Himalayas are sometimes called the water tower of Asia. The Himalayas are also important to many cultures and belief systems. The mountains themselves are considered sacred, and temples and monasteries have been built within them, attracting monks and spiritual seekers from around the world who come to pray and meditate. The Bhagirathi River, a major tributary of the Ganga, originates from Gomukh, cow's mouth, in Uttarakhand. It is the age of the Gangotri Glacier. This glacier is one of the largest in the Indian Himalayas. It is considered sacred and attracts many pilgrims. Gomukh is also a popular trekking destination. Next time you see the Ganga, remember its journey began there. How the Himalayas were formed, an interesting story. A long, long time ago, India was part of a much bigger landmass called Gondwana, where its neighbor was Africa. At some point, it broke away and slowly started moving north. About 50 million years ago, it reached the landmass of Eurasia and collided with it. As India pushed against Eurasia, the land between them crumpled and rose up, just like how a carpet wrinkles when you push it. That is how the mighty Himalayas mountains were formed. Amazingly, India is still pushing into Asia today, very slowly, about 5 centimeters each year, which is much slower than the rate at which your hair grows. This means the Himalayas are still growing taller, just a tiny bit each year, about 5 millimeters, but over a millennium that adds up to 5 meters. The word Himalaya is a combination of two Sanskrit words, Hima meaning snow and Alaya meaning abode or dwelling, thus abode of snow. The Himalayas are broadly categorized into three main ranges. The Himadri, the Greater Himalayas, are the highest and most rugged part of the range, home to towering peaks like Mount Everest and Kanchenjunga. This region remains snow covered throughout the year. Life here is tough, and there are not many human settlements. The Himachal, the lower Himalayas, lie south of the greater Himalayas and have more moderate climate, allowing rich biodiversity and human habitation. Popular hill stations such as Nainital, Uttarakhand, Darjeeling, West Bengal, Shimla, Himachal Pradesh, and Mussoorie, Uttarakhand are located in this region. The Shivalik Hills, the outer Himalayas from the outermost and lower range, consisting of rolling hills and dense forest. These foothills are rich in wildlife, serving as a transition zone between the Himalayas and the Gangetic Plains, also called the Northern Plains. Can you locate the names of the states in the different parts of the Himalayas? Take the help of both the physical and political maps for this exercise. The traditional house construction method in the western Himalayas region is known as Khatkuni or Dhaji Dewari style of houses. A combination of locally available stone and wood is used, which not only keeps the house warm but also resists damage in the event of mild earthquakes. The Great Himalayan National Park in Himachal Pradesh has a wild diversity of flora and fauna. The park has been declared a World Heritage Site by UNESCO. The biodiversity of the park is being preserved by the government as well as the village communities that live inside the park. The cold desert of India. The word desert immediately evokes an image of a hot place. However, there are also cold deserts, and we have one in India. Ladakh is cold desert where winter temperatures drop below minus 30 degrees Celsius. There is very little rainfall and the landscape is rugged with rocky terrain, deep valleys and lakes such as Pangong. The terrain here resembles that of the moon, hence it is called moonland. Geologists explain the formation of this terrain, as we saw earlier, by the fact that the mountains were folded when the Indian landmass collided with Eurasia. This folded portion was part of an ocean, and so the rocks in this area are made largely of sand and clay. Wind and rain have eroded the mountains into the shapes you see in the photograph. Despite the harsh conditions, Ladakh is home to unique wildlife like snow leopards, ibex, and Tibetan antelopes. The Ladakhi people lead a simple life. The region is known for its ancient monasteries and colorful festivals such as Losar and the Hemiz festival. The Gangetic Plains. As we move southwards from the Himalayas, we reach the vast and fertile Gangetic Plains. These plains have been an important part of the history and civilization of India. These plains are nourished by mighty rivers originating from the Himalayas, providing a vital lifeline. Water. The Ganga, Indus, and Brahmaputra river systems, along with their extensive network of tributaries, enrich the soil with minerals, making the region highly fertile and ideal for agriculture. The rivers bring with them minerals that enrich the soil, enabling abundant agriculture. The rivers are also a source for generating electricity. A large proportion of India's population lives in these plains. The flat land of the northern plains have allowed for the development of an elaborate transportation network. Road and railway networks facilitate the movement of people and goods over long distances. As you will see in the tapestry of the past chapters, the Ganga, the Brahmaputra, and other rivers have been used for millennia for travel and trade. Most rivers are named after goddess Ganga, Yamuna, Kaveri, etc. The name of Brahmaputra, however, means the son of Brahma. This river gets bigger during summer instead of drying up. Can you guess why? Notice the concentration of lighting in the plains. What could be the reason for this concentration? The Great Indian Desert or Thar Desert. If we move westward on the map, you will notice a yellowish area. This area is the Thar Desert. What do you see? A vast stretch of golden dunes, rugged terrain, and wide open sky. What is the shape of a sand dune? While mountains are made of rock and their shape is fixed, why do you think sand dunes also have a similar shape even though they are made of sand? Sand dunes are formed when the wind shifts and shapes the sand into hill like formations. Sometimes these rise as high as 150 meters. The Thar is a vast arid region. Most of it lies within India, spanning the states of Rajasthan, Gujarat, Punjab, and Haryana. The desert acts as a natural barrier due to the harsh conditions that deter human and animal movement, including very high daytime temperatures and colder nights, as well as a lack of access of water. People living in the Thar have adapted their way of life to the place and what it offers. Food habits, clothing, and lifestyle are suited to these harsh conditions. Water is scarce in the desert. Women often need to travel long distances every day to fetch water for their families. So, the traditional method for cleaning utensils is to score them with sand until they are clean. A little water can be used for light rinse. The water used for rinsing is reused for purposes like watering a plant. So, the next time you leave the tap running, remember the people of the Thar Desert. Rajasthan is also famous for its ingenious water conservation methods, including tanka or kunds. These are special water collection systems that store rainwater, often for drinking purposes. The Arauli Hills. Let's go back to the map. Trace your path slowly from the Thar Desert towards the east. Do you see the Arauli Hills? The Araulis are among the oldest mountains in the world, some 2.5 billion years old. The range has many peaks and ridges. Although its highest peak, Mount Abu, towers at over 1700 meters, most of its hills are between 300 and 900 meters high. Isn't it fascinating that a drive of about 4.5 hours can take us from Mount Abu in the Aravallis to Jodhpur in the Thar Desert? Drive into a completely different geography. Look at the political map in the textbook and identify the states that the range spans. Did you see Delhi, Rajasthan, Haryana, and Gujarat? The Aravallis play a vital role in shaping the geography and climate of northwestern India. One of its most important functions is acting as a natural barrier, preventing the Thar Desert from expanding further eastward. You will read more about this later. The Aravallis, rich in minerals like marble, granite, zinc, and copper, have supported mining and construction activities for centuries. In fact, evidence from its ancient mines at Zawar has shown that over 8 centuries ago, Indians were the first in the world to master the delicate process of extraction of zinc. Historic forts such as Chittorgarh, Kumbhalgarh, and Ranthambore are located here. India has several plateaus. The most important one is the triangular peninsular area in the middle and south of the country. The plateau is a landform that rises up from the surrounding land and has a more or less flat surface. Some of its sides are often steep slopes. It is also a very old land formation since this region is a peninsula surrounded by water on all three sides by the Arabian Sea, the Bay of Bengal, and the Indian Ocean. It is called a peninsular plateau. The plateau is bordered by two mountain ranges, the Western Ghats and Eastern Ghats. The Western Ghats are taller and run along the western coast like a wall, with many beautiful waterfalls flowing down their steep sides during the monsoon season. The Western Ghats have been declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site. They are home to many rivers and have a rich biodiversity. The northern portion of the Western Ghats are also known as the Sahyadri Hills. The Eastern Ghats are lower and broken into smaller hills along the eastern coast. Between these mountain ranges lies the Deccan Plateau, a vast area of flat highlands. Rivers like the Godavari, Krishna, and Kaveri flow across the plateau from west to east. These rivers are important for farming and provide water to millions of people. Look at the physical map of India given at the end of the book. Notice the direction of the flow of the rivers. This plateau is rich in minerals, forest, and fertile land, making it vital for India's economy. It tilts a little to the east, so a few of the rivers in this region flow towards the Bay of Bengal. East flowing rivers like the Godavari, Krishna, and Mahanadi originate here, providing water for farming, industries, and hydroelectric power. There are west flowing rivers Narmada, Tapi, too, which drain into the Arabian Sea. Dense forests on the plateau are home to tribal communities, including the Santhal, Gond, Bega, Bhil, and Korku. These tribes have distinct languages, traditions, and ways of life closely connected to nature. Tribal communities are largely spread over the states of Jharkhand, West Bengal, Odisha, Assam, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Maharashtra, Telangana, and Gujarat. Examine the physical and political maps at the end of this book to locate the states and connect them to their location on the physical map. Plateaus are home to many beautiful waterfalls in India, as rivers flow over their uneven and rocky surface. These waterfalls not only attract tourists but also help in hydroelectric power generation and provide water for irrigation. India's amazing coastlines. India's coastline is dotted with beautiful beaches, rocky cliffs, and lush green forest. Some beaches have golden sand while others have black rocks. Some islands have coral reefs while others are covered in thick jungle. India's coasts are full of surprises. The Indian coastline is over 7,500 km long. Look at the physical map of India in your school atlas or wall map and find the names of five rivers that flow into the Bay of Bengal. Find out India's coastal states and discuss the difference between the western and eastern coastal plains. Do you know what it is called when these rivers split into multiple streams near the coast? Discuss with your teacher in class to find out. The west coast of India. The west coast of India stretches from Gujarat to Kerala, passing through Maharashtra, Goa, and Karnataka. Most rivers here originate in the western Ghats, flow swiftly, and form estuaries. The coastline is shaped by alluvial deposits from short dive rivers and features coves, creeks, and estuaries, with the Narmada and Tapti estuaries being the largest. The west coast has many important ports and cities. These have been the centers of economic activity for millennia. The east coast. The east coast lies between the Eastern Ghats and the Bay of Bengal, stretching from the Ganga Delta to Kanyakumari. It has wide plains and major river deltas, including Mahanadi, Godavari, Krishna, and Kaveri. Important water bodies like Chilika Lake and Pulikat Lake, a lagoon which is a body of water separation from larger bodies of water by a natural barrier, are found here. Deltas are landforms formed at the mouth of a river when it deposits sediments into a larger body of water, such as an ocean, a lake, or another river. Over time, these sediments build up, forming a triangular or fan shaped area. The Godavari, Krishna, Kaveri, and Mahanadi rivers create fertile deltas, making the land ideal for farming. Indian islands. The Indian islands refer to the group of islands scattered across the Indian Ocean, the Arabian Sea, and the Bay of Bengal, which form part of India's territory. India has two major islands groups, Lakshadweep in the Arabian Sea and the Andaman and Nicobar Islands in the Bay of Bengal. These islands have unique wildlife, beautiful beaches, coral reefs, and volcanoes. Several ancient tribes made these islands their home tens of thousands of years ago. Lakshadweep Islands. Lakshadweep is an archipelago, a group of islands located in the Arabian Sea, close to the Malabar coast of Kerala. It is made up of 36 islands made of coral. Not all islands are inhabited by people. India controls a vast marine area, allowing for fishing, resource exploration, and environmental protection. Andaman and Nicobar Islands. This archipelago comprises more than 500 large and small volcanic islands divided into two distinct groups. The Andaman and Nicobar Islands, their location is very important. They are like the outpost of India, keeping an eye on the ocean. It is home to a variety of flora and fauna. The Andaman Islands are also significant from a historical point of view. Many of our freedom fighters were jailed there under the most severe conditions in a prison complex called cellular jail. It has been preserved to remind us of the tremendous sacrifice that our forefathers made so we could be free. We will discuss this some more in higher classes. Barren Island in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands is the only active volcano in India. It sometimes erupts, sending smoke and lava into the sky. The delta in West Bengal and the Sundarbans. As we travel back from the islands towards the eastern side of the Himalayas via the Bay of Bengal, we come to the Sundarbans. This is located in the delta of the Ganga Brahmaputra. You saw them earlier in the chapter and their tributaries. This delta has a unique combination of the river, sea, and land. About half of it is located in India and the rest is in Bangladesh. This is also a UNESCO heritage site. The Sundarbans are home to many species including the Royal Bengal tiger. Do remember to look at the map and identify where the delta is. The hills of the northeast. Stay on the map as we move towards the hills of the northeast. Our final destination for now. Can you see Garo, Khasi, and Jantia marked on the map? These hills, part of Meghalaya plateau, are known for their lush greenery, heavy rainfall, and breathtaking waterfalls. This region experiences one of the highest rainfalls in the world, making it rich in forest, unique wildlife, and fertile land. Melong village, situated in the East Khasi Hills of Meghalaya, is renowned as the cleanest village in Asia. This picturesque village is famous for its well maintained cleanliness, bamboo dustbins, and eco friendly living practices. The village is also known for its living root bridges, which are created by weaving tree roots over the course of many years. India gives its name to the subcontinent it is a part of. It has many diverse geographical features ranging from the snowy Himalayas to the heat of the Thar Desert. The plains are watered by a large number of rivers. There is also a peninsular plateau with the Arabian Sea on the west and the Bay of Bengal in the east. These diverse geographic features have created a variety of conditions with respect to soil, flora, fauna, life, and economic opportunities and honed a rich culture. These geographical features have played an important role in shaping our civilization.